Hi, so I want to talk about hiking in the rain, how to make the most of it, how to have fun with it, how to stay dry and safe and comfortable when doing so. My worst times ever hiking and backpacking have come from being wet and cold. That near hypothermic is just such a dangerous situation, and I'll tell you firsthand, it is extremely not fun. So learning how to deal with the rain is a really valuable skill to have when hiking and backpacking. So my first tip, as always, is planning and preparing. Learning what you're in for before you're gonna be stuck out in it. So this is extremely important because different states, different cities, different environments, different countries are going to have different conditions, and some of them are going to require a lot more care and consideration if you want to be safe and happy and comfortable and hypothermia free. Now, other than comfort and safety, how else does planning and preparation benefit you? And that is going to be like pack weight. If I'm hiking the Pacific Crest Trail or the Arizona Trail, I don't necessarily need a ton of Ziploc bags or a big, heavy, thick rain jacket and rain pants and an umbrella that's dedicated for rain. I can get by with a lot less. Now, if I'm hiking out on the Appalachian Trail, the Bent McKay Trail, Pinhoti Trail, Florida Trail, Long Trail, Superior Hiking Trail, then I'm probably going to want to bring a little bit more. Now, my pack might be a little bit heavier because of that, but I'm gonna be a lot happier and more comfortable and safer because of that as well. So planning and preparation to know what you're getting in for. Obviously, you wanna know roughly what the weather forecast is going to look like when you're actually going to be out there, so be checking that before the trip begins to see, are you forecasted for day after day of rain, or are you forecasted for maybe just a drizzle here or there, or no rain whatsoever? Something else you can do is look up historical weather data for a certain location. So before starting this trip, I looked up what it was like last year during May, and the year before that during May, and the year before that. And I compared that to maybe where I live or maybe other trails I've done to see, is that a lot of rain or is that very little? So historical weather data can really be your friend. Now, another thing to really pay attention to with the research and planning is the temperatures, because if it's going to rain a lot but it's going to be pretty hot, then it's not nearly as much of a concern than if it's going to rain a lot but it's going to be very cold and wet. That is the serious danger. So planning and preparing, that is my first tip. I think it's extremely helpful to know what you're getting into so that you can better prepare to deal with it and to be safe and comfortable and happy. All right, let's take a look at some gear because the gear you use is essential when it comes to really terrible weather. So first up, we have an umbrella. I think absolutely, if you're hiking in a rainy place, you need to get an umbrella for hiking. It's really going to change your life when it comes to rain and bad weather, because you can just take a break anywhere now and be totally sheltered from the rain. When you're hiking, it's amazing how much drier an umbrella is going to keep you. You can keep like more than half of your body dry just with the umbrella, so long as it's not like super windy. You can look at your phone comfortably and easily with the umbrella because you have this nice shelter right above you, whereas with just a rain jacket you can't really look at your phone, look at your maps, and an umbrella is even going to help to keep your pack dry a little bit because it kind of hangs over. Umbrella is really life-changing when it comes to hiking in rainy places. Think Appalachian Trail, Superior Hiking Trail, anywhere East Coast. I love my umbrella. I'm gonna keep bringing it on any trip that is rainy. Now, next up, Ziplocs. I have tons of Ziplocs on this trip. I have a Ziploc for my camera, I have a Ziploc for my phone, I have a Ziploc for electronics inside of my bag. I think if you're hiking in a really rainy place, you just need to carry a lot of Ziplocs because they're going to come in so much more handy than maybe you're expecting. So I think I have like 3 or 4 Ziplocs on this trip. Maybe even consider 4 or 5 if you're hiking in a really rainy place. Now next up, rain jacket. Of course, a rain jacket is essential. There is no trip on this planet that I'm going to do where I'm not going to bring a rain jacket, even in the desert, because a rain jacket provides warmth and protection from wind, even if it's not going to rain. Now there's a lot of different kinds of rain jackets. I would consider this one an ultralight rain jacket. It's very lightweight. This is Montbell Versalite. This is probably a 2-layer rain jacket. I think like a 3-layer rain jacket is going to be heavier, but it's also going to keep you much more dry. Think layers as in layers of fabric. So that would be 3 layers that water would have to permeate through to get to you. But in general, I would think of rain jackets as you have ultralight rain jackets and then you have heavier rain jackets. You know, the heavier ones are going to be essential when hiking in places where rain is not just an inevitability, but also your trail is going to be very exposed. So when I hiked the Great Divide Trail of Canada, where I was going to be above tree line a lot, and I knew it was going to rain a lot, I knew it was going to be cold, so I carried a much heavier rain jacket than this because I knew my safety depended on me staying dry. Whereas an ultralight rain jacket, you can use it in places where maybe an umbrella can be used in combination with it, or maybe in places where it's just not going to rain that frequently. So popular models, this is a Montbell Versalite. I do like it, but it is fairly expensive. There's a Frog Togs rain jacket. It costs like $20, but it really keeps you dry quite good. Though the trouble is it's not very durable. And then the heavier one that I typically use is a Patagonia Torrent Shell. I really do like the Torrent Shell, and I would recommend that for any time you're hiking in really wet conditions. So let's take a look at my pack real quick. One thing of note, I don't really use waterproof materials on a backpack. I just don't think they're necessary. They're very expensive, and they don't really do all that much because even though waterproof materials are waterproof, a lot of times these seams are not waterproof. So waterproof pack, just gonna be more expensive and all your stuff's gonna get wet anyway. Now the trick, however, we'll get into in a second. So you see here, right on top, I have my tent. That is because for the past 5 or 6 days, it has rained every single day and my tent is wet. So not only do I want my tent very accessible for when I get to camp, I want to be able to whip this out fast and set it up. I also want to keep it separate from the rest of my gear. So now inside my pack, what you're seeing is a pack liner. This is a fancy trash bag. It is a more durable trash bag. So all of my gear that I want to stay dry, my sleeping bag, my fleece, my warm clothes, my electronics, goes inside of this. And then once I'm leaving camp and I'm entering the wet environment, you can twist it shut and then inside your pack, fold that all the way over and no water is going to get in that. Now, a lot of people really like dry bags, but I just don't think that a dry bag is necessary. This pack liner costs like $1, if not less, and I've never had a problem with them. I replace it, you know, depending on how much I'm backpacking. Sometimes I just need one of those per year. So it's just a fancy, more durable trash bag. Now, all of this gear is super important, and the importance of it varies depending on the conditions you think you'll face. If I'm hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, I'm probably just gonna bring the Frog Togs because I don't think I'm going to really need much of anything else. Now, a piece of gear that I don't have here, but that I highly recommend for many different situations is either rain pants or a rain kilt. Rain pants are really great when hiking through brushy sections of trail when it's very wet. because if the trail is going to be overgrown, you are just going to get soaked from head to toe just from rubbing up against bushes. So sometimes, even if it's not raining, but maybe it rained yesterday, not only is your rain jacket still going to be very useful, but rain pants can really, really help to keep you dry. Now, overall, your gear is going to just make such a huge difference in your happiness and comfort. I mean, imagine you're hiking in an absolute downpour for hours, and all you have is a rain jacket. And yeah, maybe your rain jacket is keeping your chest kind of dry, but oftentimes the rain jacket is just not enough. It's just not good enough. And that is why I am going to be using an umbrella for so many of my trips now, into the future, and in the past. I've used them a lot. My umbrella only weighs about 5 ounces. I barely notice it's there, and then when it does rain, I am super, super happy to have it. My next tip is to not wait until sunset if you are hiking in wet environments to set up camp, as there is nothing worse than trying to find a suitable spot when everything is totally soaked or when a storm is rolling in. You can avoid some seriously bad situations by doing this one thing alone. I personally did this pretty much every single day of my Colorado Trail through hike, where I was setting up camp at like 2 p.m. If the storm was gnarly, that was just where I was going to camp for that day, but if the storm seemed like it was totally just blowing over me, sometimes I was able to continue hiking for that day and get an extra 3-4 miles in the evening. But the gnarlier the environment is going to be, the more cautious that you should be when it comes to campsites. So having good campsite selection, not setting up on the very top of a mountain instead of trying to push it harder and harder and harder. All right, and my final tip is to practice near home. There's nothing worse than getting out on a hiking trip and realizing that your tent leaks. That's happened to me twice, where I just didn't realize I had a hole from the previous trip, and now I'm getting soaked because my tent is just dripping on me, or water is permeating up through the floor. Same goes for your rain jacket. You want to make sure that that rain jacket actually works the way that you expect it to. So get out in your home, whether that's literally just right outside your house, or on local trails nearby, to just make sure things work the way you want. So anyway, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Right now I'm planning a big bike packing trip, and that's been kind of fun. So we'll see how that goes.